Hello, students. Welcome to our online lessons. Today we are going to look at the course unit called Special Needs Education. I think special needs education is not a new course unit to you. You have already seen it, and actually that before we were closed, we had looked at the introductory part of it. Actually, that this course unit called Special Needs Education has a number of aspects. So, what are the aspects of special needs education that we are going to have a look at? So, among these aspects, we have the concept of special needs education. So, this one we are going to look at it critically, and we see what is meant by special needs education. Then the other aspect we are going to look at is categories of special needs. Then we are also going to look at another aspect called identification of children with special needs education. And then we are also going to look at gifted and talented children. Then we are going to also look at different types of disabilities. So, as you know that this course unit, special needs education, is a very important course unit of all the course units that we study here, because as we shall go there in classrooms to teach young children, you are going to find that there are so many children who have children who are not normal, who needs to be supported differently apart from the normal children. So this special needs course unit introduces you to the concepts of special needs education and interventions used to integrate it with the Ugandan educational system. It also explains inclusive education barriers to learning, development and participation, types of special needs learners. What are the objectives of this course unit? Special needs education has a number of objectives, and some of the objectives are students will be introduced to the meaning of special needs education. You have to know what it means and what it stands for. Then also we are going to look at the categories of special needs, because as you know that special needs has a number of categories. We are going to look at category by category. Then we are going to look at identification of children with the special needs. How can you identify those children that needs to be assisted differently? Then we are also going to look at the causes, effects, and management of special needs among children. Yeah, so that actually that if you have such cases in your class, how are you going to manage such cases and how are you going to assist children? Then we're also going to look at ways of supporting children with the special needs. Then we're also going to look at roles of teachers and other stakeholders in supporting children with the special needs. So, you as a teacher, what role are you going to play? And how the other stakeholders, like parents, the society, and whatever, which role are they going to play to support children with the special needs? Then actually that special needs education has a number of topics. We're going to look at topics by topics. So it's divided into a number of subtopics. Then you have topic number 1. We're going to look at special needs education. Then topic number 2, we are going to look at categories of special needs. Then topic number 3, we are going to look at identification of children with special needs. Then topic number 4, we are going to look at mental retardation. Okay. So topic number 1, special needs education. What is it? So actually that this is a type of education intended to provide appropriate modifications in order to meet special needs in an individual. It is learner-centered, flexible, and adjustable to individual needs and potentials. It includes preventive, compulsory therapeutic, and educational measures, e.g., sign language. E.g., sign language should be used with the communication with the other learners who are deaf, and braille should be used for the blind. So then we look at category 2 of special needs education. What are you looking here? What do you have to look at here? We're going to look at children with disabilities, children with chronic illnesses, children with specific learning difficulties, children living under difficult circumstances, mentally exceptional children. These are gifted or talented, backward, and retarded children. So what do you mean by children with disabilities? A disabled child is the one who suffers from some defect of the body, mind, or senses because of the defects. A disabled child is unable to do these things which other children do, which children of their age can normally do. Actually, that's among of the disabilities, we have what they call sensory impairment. What do you mean? What do you understand by sensory impairment? And what do you understand by the word senses? Actually, that when you're trying to look at sensory impairment, there are just a number of sensory impairments that we are going to look at. So actually, there is hearing impairment, where children cannot hear properly. Then you have visual impairment, where children cannot see properly. Then we have deaf and blind. So I think you know what a deaf and blind child is. So those are children who cannot hear, and those children who cannot do what? Who cannot see. Okay, so those ones, they fell in the category of what? Sensory impairment. You have seen that it has three: hearing impairment, visual impairment, and deaf and blind. Then you have another type of disability which they call the physical or motor impairment. This one they call them crippled children. What is a crippled children? I think that you know what a physical impairment is. So which means that actually that the child has some damage on what? On parts of this body, and then actually that they cannot function well as they're supposed to function. So actually that usually this type of children, they are usually referred to as crippled children. Then we have another category of impairment which they call the chronic illnesses among children. So this includes children with epilepsy, asthma, sickle cells, HIV and AIDS. So I think you know what epilepsy is, yeah? So actually the epilepsy, in Uganda they call it a symbol. You know that asthma, these children have difficulties in breathing, that their respiratory system has been damaged, and then they have some attacks, and then they can do what? They cannot breathe very well. Then you have sickle cells, you know those children with sickle cells, they have that they are born whereby their blood cells are not functioning normally, so they look like a sickle, and then like those children, they can't live normally, they are always sickly. But for HIV and AIDS, I think this is very common among children here. Then category number 3, we are going to look at children under difficult circumstances. What are those children? What do they mean by children who live under these difficult circumstances? This includes children working children at labor. What are these type of children? Then, as you know that children aren't supposed to work, they're supposed to sit at home and then do housework. But then you find that there's some unfortunate children who end up working. Yeah, I think you have seen children working in stone quarries, children who are working on building sites, children who are working as vendors. Right now, we are in lockdown, but then you see that there's a lot of confusion in the city. Then you see that some parents, they decide to send their children on the streets to vend, sell masks and other things. in such a very difficult circumstances where they are beaten up by police and then whatever. Then you have also another category of children, which they call street children. Yeah, I think you know who street children are. So actually those children who have no families, or those are the children who ran away from their families, and then they decided to stay on streets. Also, we have children, refugee and displaced children. Yeah, you see that actually that in Uganda we have a lot of refugees. So when these refugees come to the country, they don't come alone. Also, they come with their children. So actually that you go to the western part of the country in Toroko, then you're seeing that you're having a lot of refugees from the DR Congo. So they also come with their children, and then they stay in camps in the northern Uganda. We have also a number of refugees, more especially from southern Sudan. They also come their children, and then the children also experiencing a lot of hardship. And then actually that we have children heading families. What do we understand by those children who are heading families? These are the children actually that children who are parentless. They don't have parents. I think they have seen several children heading families in Uganda here, especially in the 90s when you had a problem with AIDS, that a lot of parents were killed, and then so many families were left without family heads, and then some small children took up the role of family heads. I think that there is a very good example. Some of you who watch TV, you watch the news, was it Evokede? There was a girl called Nangobi. Nangobi was from Iganga there, that actually their parents, they had a disagreement, they separated, and then that ended up by separating. So then you find out that small girl, Nangobi, took over the family of his brothers and sisters, about 7 or 8 of them. So actually that we have seen that those are the children who are heading families. Then also we have these parenting children who are there. So those parenting children, they are children, those are parent children. Yeah, you find that especially that during this lockdown, just so many schoolgirls were impregnated by people, by those greedy men. So this type of children, they became mothers when they are very young. You find that it's a 13 or 14-year-old child is also a parent, is pregnant, then is having a child, and then whatever. So actually that these are what they call the parenting children. And then there are also children living in conflict areas and families. What is a conflict area? So a conflict area, it's an area where there is a conflict. It might be a military conflict, it might be a war, it might be, we see that there are some places in Uganda here where villages are evicted from their lands, and they are left homeless and whatever. Then there are also children who are living in families which have conflicts, that have parents, they are always fighting and whatever. So then you also have children who are abused. Who is an abused child? I think that is an abuse. You see that there are different types of abuses that children experiences. So these abuses, they came from the parents themselves. We have seen that some instances where children are raped by their fathers, their relatives, and then whatever. And then we see that there are also children who are culturally and geographically disadvantaged or isolated. It's a very good example of the children who are culturally or geographically disadvantaged. We have the Karimajong children in Kampala. Yeah. So if you go to the streets here, you find that there is a lot of children who work as beggars. Yeah. So actually, that those children, they came from a region that are culturally or geographically disadvantaged, whereby actually they have no opportunities, and then they can't live in normal families. So they end up by doing what? By coming on streets, or they are being trafficked by those traffickers, and then they are brought to the cities and then start begging. Then you also have children of nomadic groups. I think you know those nomadic groups, that those are groups of people who doesn't live in one place. So they keep on moving from one place to another. Maybe they are looking for pastures, whatever, for their animals. And then there are also some groups that they don't live in what? In one place. Then we have what they call the mentally exceptional children. Who are these mentally exceptional children? So these are, see that these are gifted, talented children. So actually that this type of giftedness, yeah, it has different types of giftedness. You find that there are some children who are academically gifted, and then there are some children who have skills in doing other things like in sports, in art and whatever. So then we have what they call the backward retarded children. Who is a backward retarded children? Yeah. So a backward child is someone who, compared with us of the same chronological age, shows marked educational deficiency. Yeah. So what does it mean by backward retardedness? Backward retardedness, so you have seen that a child cannot do what the children of his or her age can do. Yeah. So actually that you find that. So let me give us an example that I think a top class child is about 6 years old. Somebody might find that a 6-year-old child cannot do what? Cannot do, or cannot study, or cannot even write, or cannot do what a 6-year-old can do. And then you find that cannot do what they're supposed to do at that particular age. So actually that child also falls in the category of what? Backward child. Then we have a retarded child. Okay, we shall end here for the moment. Thank you.